Welcome to the Creative Brew, helping you keep your creative juices brewing. We're giving out chunks of insight, motivation, and practicality for your creative journey. My next partner is Elevate Coffee Trading, and if you appreciate specialty coffee, enjoy outdoor adventure, and love helping elevate the lives of children around the world, then you're going to love Elevate Coffee Trading. Their mission is to extract hope through love, coffee, and adventures. There's free shipping in the United States, and every bag of coffee helps sponsor health and education for children in coffee-producing countries and in areas of need in the United States. You can use promo code Elevate21 on your next order, and you can follow their journey on social media at Elevate Coffee Trading. Or you can visit online at elevatecoffeetrading.com, and let's start extracting hope together. And this episode is brought to you by Boba Coffee, smuggling good vibes. Boba roasts their coffee beans each week and only offers the freshest coffee. They have espressos, lattes, cappuccinos, pour over, or drip coffee. You can try their cold brew coffee, nitro cold brew, or bulletproof coffee, and boba milk teas. They also have a wide assortment of delicious food. I would suggest you try the avocado toast, mimosas, wine, or beer. On the weekends, you can check out some great music like the Soto Six and food like Eliza the Shelf and others over the weekend, every Friday and Saturday, beginning at 6 p.m. You can check out everything they got going on Facebook and Instagram at Baba Coffee. And welcome back to a new episode of The Creative Brew, giving you insights on your creative journey. Today, we have Monica Martin. And like I said, she'll probably describe a little bit more of what she's into. She's more of the, I would say, floral decor. So paintings, greeting cards, art classes. Like I said, I'll let her sort of share her story and, the creative journey, ups and downs of it, and where she is today. But we are here live at Baba Coffee. And so take in mind, there is people around, there's chatter. So, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Baba Coffee here in Carlsbad, California. Smuggling good vibes and good coffee. So, and an incredible sponsor for the show. So without further ado, Monica, share your story and we'll get going.
Story. Well, let's see. I raised my kids for the first 20 years of marriage.
Okay.
And basically, upon getting a divorce, I actually started my art career. So I had like a second career for myself.
Yeah.
So most people don't know that. I didn't start really an art career until 2011, 2012. And I just started with, I was teaching at a scrapbook store, and then it became mixed media art. And then it became regular art. And so it kind of just evolved over years to what it is now, which is way different than what it started as.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know if I could make a career of it. But I didn't have a job necessarily to go back to.
Yeah.
So I, decided, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way.
Yeah.
And I got lucky in that I got hooked up with an art agent within the first 2 years. So what that is someone that represents you with art in a customer type. So you're going to use art for products.
Yeah.
So you're going to be licensed. So she had a few needs. She asked me if there was anything I had that could fit that need. And I actually kind of took off with that right from the start.
Wow.
So I was really doing art for products.
Yeah.
So for notebooks, for calendars, for all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
That's kind of how I got the kickoff.
Yeah.
I'd say 2012, 2013 were my biggest licensing years. So I did a lot of what people would call more mainstream art, not digital at the time.
Yeah.
Digital really wasn't that big yet. It was more still hand done, or if it was digital, they wanted hand done because they were not wanting digital.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of contracts because of that, which was kind of nice. Hand drawing. They wanted to see more real art still.
Yeah.
So having been an artist, on the side, I guess, or as a kid, Always drawing, always painting, even like with my kids. I mean, I did murals in their rooms and things like that. So it's always doing art, but it was never like as a business.
Yeah.
So it was hard for people because they were like, what do you mean it's a business? People who do art just do art, and they either do it or they don't, and I would always say, well, it's kind of become a business for me.
Yeah.
And so, I've had a couple national calendars that have gone,
wow.
into bookstores and into, Hobby Lobby and different companies that carry calendars every year. So there's one that I did that ended up being like a 3-year contract.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So after all of that, I still actually have a few contracts that they still use my work. But as far as moving forward from that, and let's see, within, I would say 5 years or so. Over the years, I've worked at different studios. So that's kind of been, I had my own studio at one point down in San Diego. I've had a studio in Liberty Station.
Okay.
And I had a studio like kind of 1 year at a time. It's kind of weird. One closed. Well, one closed. Then I went to another one, and that one closed. Like it was just kind of like a evolving.
Yeah.
And then I ended up at Art Beat in Vista.
Okay.
Which was a great spot for a few years. And then they closed. Then I moved to New Village Arts, which was the Foundry, which is right down the street here. And I was there the longest.
Okay.
So I was there like 3 years. And so that was a great experience working with a co-op. So, you're getting experience with all the other artists. Very, just tons of learning.
Yeah.
Learning from, lifelong artists. I'm self-taught. So to be with someone who's, come in with all this training, I mean, I got so much knowledge out of them as far as like framing, display, gallery, hanging, all of that.
Yeah.
Is so great because I got to be around people who are like lifelong artists, which is a lot different.
Yeah.
So I kind of backed off on my art licensing because at the time it was going really digital. Everybody was doing digital work by like 2016.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was, we don't want that, we want this, which is fine, it's just a different style.
Yeah.
And I did dabble in, I still do some digital stuff, but not nearly as much. So in 2015, when I was down at Liberty Stations, when I kind of released my first cards, and I had like a set of 30 to 40 that I would sell at different stores in the area. And then that just kind of evolved over the years. That's grown and grown and grown.
Okay.
So right now I'm up to about, I think I'm at about 250 designs. They're not all, reproduced at this time, but I learned how to reproduce those. I learned how to, work wholesale with companies. I actually had reps showing those for a while around the country. So I've kind of done like a bunch of different things. I've kind of just like, as soon as something is not working anymore, I just pivot to do something else.
Yeah.
So I think as an artist, it's super important that you just always evolve,
Yes.
Not even your art necessarily as much as the process.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mean, I've been through where they didn't want digital, that they didn't want digital.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll probably go back.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the way it is in the world of, art and design and all of that. So in the last, like, let's say 8 years or so, I've gotten into, doing call for artists with galleries. So I've worked with Art on 30th down in San Diego. I've worked with up here, we'd have a gallery show up at the Foundry, and as well as Art Beat. We always had like a monthly gallery show. So I always was producing something for the call for artists.
Yeah.
It's kind of a challenge. It's fun because sometimes you're like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Something green or something that includes some object that you've never painted before. So it kind of pushes you out of your boundaries. I would suggest that people try, submitting for call for artists.
Okay.
Because it challenges you completely, gets you out of your box. It might be, a lot of times it'll be a color theme. Like I did one that was, the theme was orange is the new black.
Okay.
And it was based on like confinement and like in jail basically. And it was a national show, and I got into it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, my painting was orange and black and had what do you call it? on the top of the fence. What is that called?
Oh, like barbed wire?
Yeah, barbed
Okay.
wire. Didn't have real barbed wire, but it had like, painted. Yeah, and so, yeah, and it was, it was all about that theme, which was, like I made a wall and, things that, I mean, normally I paint flowers.
Yeah.
So, that was so far from and black and orange.
Yeah.
So the theme was, laid out for you, and then you kind of, it's a challenge. It's just a personal challenge.
Yeah.
So, and even if you don't get in, you still learn a lot from that experience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And submitting, that's that's a whole process, learning how to submit,
Mhm.
learning how to, follow the rules for that, hanging the art. It's all a process. So,
Now I'm really interested, and we may talk about a little bit about this later, as far as, because I know even with my work, I'm actually pushing a lot of my design and stuff more towards licensing. And I know this probably be a really important episode for a lot of artists. But how are you able? Now I think that was really the trick. Like, how did would you? I didn't know if you call it luck or just like, did you have the contact to be able to get that?
well,
This art agents?
I had taken a course
Yeah.
with like probably like 40 other women, and it was kind of a launching your art kind of a class. It wasn't really directed to specifically art licensing. It was more just how to kind of get your art out in the world.
Yeah.
It was a lot of a what you call like a self-improvement or self-reflection.
Yeah.
It was a lot about like, what are the things that are holding you back from that?
Yeah.
What are the things from, so it was something flyers. I can't remember the exact name, but basically I still am in touch with all those ladies. So now we call ourselves Flying Sisters because we're all flying.
Yeah.
We're all doing art in different parts of the country. I know people in France, I know people in Italy that are doing art from our group.
Yeah.
Some people have gone in a different direction, but everybody's doing some sort of, art. So as far as licensing, someone in that group introduced me to my agent.
Oh, okay.
Who actually showed my work, but you could do it on your own.
Yeah.
It's just a little harder.
Yeah.
She already had people that were saying, we need, like I remember there was this one thing where she wanted stuff with cats.
Yeah.
And I don't think,
Yeah.
not that I couldn't, but I just wasn't into it. And she's like, well, Monica, they really like cats. And I'm like, I want to do cats, and so, I just waited it out and didn't do cats and, but she found someone that did do cats and, whatever that was for, it's probably for cards or something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it would go. She'd call me and she'd say, are you in? Are you out? Sometimes she'd leave me a message.
Yeah.
She was on the East Coast.
Okay.
So she had been an artist, a licensed artist herself.
Yeah.
So she had a lot of contacts previously. And so she was kind of just directing artists to, not a big agency, just out of her home. It was very, just like she became a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Over the years. So that was kind of a neat, I don't know, meant to be kind of thing. I don't know if that's a God thing or whatever thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I always wanted, because I know that's been the biggest, probably I wouldn't say one of the biggest hurdles, but obviously like, being able to find a company or agent that would actually represent you or be that middleman.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that could always be the sometimes the biggest hurdle. I think a lot of people have artwork, but and I know and it's really a mindset shift too, like knowing that, hey, you don't have to, sell a one-off piece of artwork. You can figure out ways of leveraging it.
Yeah. There's some of my work's been, used hundreds and hundreds of times,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Once you license it, you typically don't license it with anyone else.
Yeah.
You can sell the original. But I would always make sure I could sell the original.
Okay.
But sometimes it was a bigger piece that I just, maybe it was a part of a painting.
Yeah.
Or it was something that I was going to use as a card
Yeah.
or something. I would just make it so that I could, because you can negotiate all those stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you negotiate your percentage and your years and all that. It's not, the thing is, everyone's like, you're not going to get rich.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
unless you
Yeah.
hit the right, like I had a friend that hit, one of her designs, went into a hotel chain, and that ended up being a huge thing
Yeah.
for her. So, things like that, it does happen. The biggest, and it wasn't even really through the licensing thing that I did was, I did a yogurt label. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fun to see, have friends calling me saying they saw it in the store, and that was like a seasonal thing. So
Yeah.
it was just like, I think it was about 3 months,
Okay.
but everyone was sending me the photos of it, on the store shelf.
Yeah,
That was pretty
that's
cool.
always the biggest. That's always the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Going there, like, oh, I actually
Yeah,
made
they
this.
have like their kids holding it up and stuff. It was cute. Yeah, that was super fun surprise. And it wasn't really easy to find here. So it was cool to see it in different different states.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big seller here, or not all stores carried it.
Yeah.
So I think it was a few stores that did.
Okay. So I mean, so with the greeting cards, which she has some here at Baba.
Yeah, I do. They've been
with,
great. Yeah.
with these cards, I mean, do you find yourself, is that like a niche, or even, well, I would say, is that like a sort of a lane that you feel like, hey, I just want to stay in, like, I just want the greeting cards, and you feel yourself doing some other things?
Well, I mean, I still do the gallery shows. Like
Okay.
I'm at Play Theater Company right now. In their show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got 2 pieces in that show, so that's cool.
Nice.
But I haven't done a gallery show in a while. I did my own gallery show in July this summer.
Okay.
Where I did 8 pieces that were all themed.
Yeah.
So that was kind of usually, so Witch Creek Winery is the company that, the business that decided to let the Foundry artists who had left the Foundry when it got renovated and remodeled. The owners decided we're going to let each artist have a month every year. So I've done it 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's funny. One year I did May, then last year I did June, and this year I did July. I'm not sure why I moved down the calendar, but I know one year I had an art event and like I had to go pull art from there, and it was very chaotic. So
Yeah.
you have to plan it. And I picked the month like a year ahead. So you don't know what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just scheduling and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So this year I'm like, I'm going to pick a month that there's nothing else going on, which is July.
Yeah.
Which was a good month for me because there's a lot of people in town.
Yeah.
So that worked out pretty good.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So I mean, with your artwork, do you have
Greeting cards? I'm sorry.
yeah, just going back, because with your artwork, do you have, like, so say if you do a gallery, do you have specific pieces that you say, hey, like, I want to put this in the gallery, or do you have specific designs or creations you want to, maybe like an agent, or maybe you got like some kind of licensing thing going on, or anything like that? Do you have, I didn't know if you have separate collections for any of those.
Is definitely different from
Okay.
the rest of the collection
Okay.
because typically my cards are watercolor.
Yeah.
And my larger pieces are acrylic.
Okay.
So I don't really mix those two.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like watercolor, smaller images.
Okay.
And then, which can be enlarged, of
Yeah.
course, but the acrylic is really completely gallery focused. So that's kind of how I differentiate them.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have once in a while someone will say, can you make that a card? And of course, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do that I suggest people do is take scanned or images of all their work. That's
Okay.
like, it takes time. And I mean, there's times I'll have 12 or 15 things that I need to photograph. Not only photograph, but edit, as far as cropping. I usually try not to edit the actual image very much.
Okay.
In terms of like coloring, or I
Yeah.
like to just, what I get is I like to try to use the original piece,
Okay.
I guess you'd say, without enhancing it, or, if it's too dark, I'll wait to do it at a different time of day. If I'm concerned about the lighting in it or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll print one and I'm like, no, this is too dark. So I have to either lighten it up or retake it. Usually it's a reshoot.
Okay.
So, the process just doesn't look as good, or whatever. Sometimes colors just don't come out right, or whatever. So like for me with the cards, I pretty much try to, like, I'll do 5 or 10 at a time, and then I take them and then I crop them to fit my template for my cards. And then I send them to the company, and then they print them and send them.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a process. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy now, but at
Yeah.
the beginning, oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'd send it in, they go, oh, it's a little too short, or, I would get the card back and go, oh, it's off, or it
Yeah.
has, a little white line, or, like not in the print, but, I didn't cut it quite right,
Yeah.
or it kind of wore off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, that's a little tough, especially for, I mean, even with someone that's self-taught like yourself, and then having to learn all these processes,
Yeah.
print production processes. I'm coming from reverse, so I'm coming from the design and production. So like, I was like, it's easy for me to create
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, obviously, you got the leg up with getting the contacts and the people
Yeah.
to be able to get your artwork seen
Yeah.
at various places. But that's for me, it's a little bit easier coming through. Like I could sit there and talk to a vendor, like, okay, yeah, I know what they're talking about.
Yeah, what they're
But
gonna
for
want.
like a fine artist or someone that's maybe
Yeah.
not in digital, it could be really hard for them to be like, okay, how do I do this? Do you? I mean, it may be for you, and maybe through your experience, is that something to where you've just learned through time, like how to get things set up, or did you? I didn't know if there were certain resources
No,
maybe
no,
saw
no, it was
online
like
or
trial and error,
yeah,
pretty
okay,
much. I
okay.
mean, I pretty much, started with one company and at one point I had a printer that did most of it. Like I would bring
Yeah.
them the image, they would scan it
Yeah.
and edit it for me. Then it got too costly.
Oh,
So
yeah,
then I'm
that's-
like, I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, what am I doing? I have no idea. I'm just gonna wing it. So, I started playing around with different, templates and just trying my best to figure it out. And, like I said, I've had, some errors along the way, but it's never, I mean, my cards, I can order the smallest batch. I can order one. So if I want to just test it,
Yeah.
I don't have to order them hundreds at a time.
Yeah.
So, I pay a little more than maybe if you went and did like 100 at a time or 500 at a time,
Mhm.
but I never know what's going to be popular.
Yeah,
So,
that's that's trick. It's
if I
always
put them at 5, 10, or 25, I just know,
Yeah.
either I'm gonna have them a while or, like here, it's funny, the cards that always sell here, it's just funny how you get used to like what sells, and I bring in new ones and they'll sit. And so then I'm like, okay, not those again, so it's a constant like process of, what's popular, what's not, what's,
Yeah.
like, Father's Day is not that popular, but Mother's Day.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
No one
it's
wants to.
typical of the card industry. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's just me,
Yeah.
but it's just like, I've done a lot of cards over the years.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, some I sell over and over and over and over because they're just like a classic.
Yeah.
So, but it's taken like time just to figure out who I work with best. And I haven't changed my person that I use or the company that I use for probably 7 years now,
Oh.
7 or 8 years,
Yeah.
just because of the fact that I've got it down.
Yeah.
So if they change the template, I'm gonna panic because I have my editing software
Mhm.
programmed to, this is the template for a 5x7 card.
Oh, okay.
So I just pop it in and sometimes I have to shrink it or, play around with it a little bit, pull it back in or out. And that's pretty much it.
So do you, so even with I mean, obviously I know a lot of your designs is hand drawn.
Right. Mhm.
Do you have to do like minor editing and like say if you pull it into Photoshop or Illustrator? I didn't know if you
I
do any
don't
kind of.
actually use either of those.
Okay,
I
all
use Procreate.
Okay,
And
yeah,
that's
that's it.
because I'm not trained in Photoshop or
Yeah.
Adobe. And I just I wasn't really like keen on the digital stuff.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I learned Procreate and I was like, I think I can do it all in here. So what I do that's different is I actually write on my cards, like the message, happy birthday or whatever it is hand done by me, but it's done on Procreate.
Yeah.
So it's not done hand lettered on the actual card image.
Okay.
So, a card I can print it plain with just flowers and or a beach scene or whatever, or I can print it with words.
Okay.
So it gives me the option. I always say both so that sometimes someone will say, oh, I want to have that, but I just want it for like a note card.
Yeah.
So once in a while, someone will ask me and I'm like, oh, I have it, count the words. And then it's like, oh, they might want a whole stack.
Yeah.
Because they're going to use it for, maybe even business or something.
Okay. So trend wise, I mean, what things are you maybe for this year? What have you noticed trend wise?
Well, here, see, I'm mostly basing it off of here and another store I have. It's all beach related. I mean, anything beach or surf or surfer or ocean, is definitely, especially like with the theme. Like I've had some cards in Oceanside for a while with the harbor. Anything, the pier, things that are obvious, tourist points, tourist interest.
Yeah.
I kind of lean into that, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I know it's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Not And then there's a few designs that I repeat over and over that have sold. You know, I'd love, actually, I could go through at some point and figure out how many of these have I sold. So, you know, just out of interest, it'd be interesting to see over 5 years.
Yeah.
I get bored with them. And then I'll run into someone, they'll say, that's my favorite. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting rid of it again.
Yeah.
You know, so I do a lot of flowers because most of my cards are bought by women. So typically, my age demographic is pretty much 50, 55 and up.
Okay.
And I think that's the card buyer still.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I know my mother-in-law, she still sends
Yeah.
us cards.
Yes.
I mean, she
Yeah.
does it regularly. I mean, it's
Yeah. So my mom, like, you know, my aunts and stuff. And
Yeah.
most of my friends still send cards or
Yeah.
get cards, or, you know, are used to thinking of a card, or even if they're giving a gift card inside. Or
Yeah.
whatever. So now with, you know, the text and message and all that, nobody really, there's a lot of people who don't really care. you
Yeah.
know. I've got my kids using, my daughters both send cards, but that's only because I'm like, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Send this to your grandmother.
Yeah, that's what I hate. That's what I was like, I want to keep it because the intention behind it, you know, someone, you know, picked out a card, wrote down a message. So like I love keeping them, but then it's like, man, I can't keep all of these.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I do enjoy that, you know, that random text of like, hey, you know, happy birthday, or you know, happy anniversary. So that's always cool too. But
It is. So I've kind of just realized that, you know, it's obviously not what it was at one point.
Yeah.
And that's not just my card, that's everybody's card.
Yeah.
You know, but I enjoy it because I know it's like a little piece of art that somebody gets,
Mhm.
you know. And for me, that's kind of the joy of it.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds silly, but I'm a big card sender. So for me, it's like part of what I do, you know, it's like to get a card in the mail.
Yep.
You know, people go, oh my God, you know, it's so exciting to get something other than a bill, or you know,
Yeah.
something that you see peek out that's like colorful, or you know,
Yeah.
different. So that's kind of fun. But
That's cool. That's
yeah, so it's kind of like my little pet project, you
Yeah.
know, like it's kind of my baby,
Yeah.
because it's like something that and anytime I want to do art, it kind of gives me an opportunity to just draw randomly. So,
Yeah.
you know, and have it feel like it's gonna produce something. It's not that you can't draw, you know, but I feel like whenever I draw something that I really, it ends up becoming a card.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know. But,
Yeah, I think that's the way I'm always sort of creating different designs and character designs and you know, it's just one of like I end up like transforming it into something like I'm going to use this for something. Don't know what,
Yeah.
but I'm going to use it for something.
It could be a bag, it could be a
Yeah.
tote, it could be a notebook, it
Yeah.
could be a card, it could be like,
Yeah.
you really can make anything out of some of those.
Oh
things.
yeah,
A
that's
poster.
yeah.
And that's the thing, I've kind of jumped, like, I remember when I first went to like Art Beat and the Foundry as well, they were older artists and they all didn't have that digital side at all.
Yeah.
So they're all like, how are you doing that? You know, but that's like a print or copy, you know, of your work. That's not the original, but the thing is, prints and copies sell better
Yep.
than originals do nowadays.
Yep.
So why not take the $25 per print off of something that, you know, you're going to see more out of it than you would if it's just sitting in the garage at home.
Yep.
You know, so you kind of have to get out of that mentality of just like, it's an original.
Yeah,
You know, that's the thing that I kind of never had. And maybe because I went straight into art licensing,
Yeah.
I never really like, there's not a piece in my collection that like, there's maybe one or two I wouldn't part with. That's about it. I guess I don't get too attached. But you know, I like this. There's a few I have some cool stories with, or you know, reasoning of why I ended up with it, but it's not or why I ended up doing it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like anything that would mean anything to anyone else. It's more of a personal like.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah, I know. I know I've got originals for a lot of my stuff. It's sort of weird because, you know, because I transferred from more of the fine arts towards digital.
Yeah,
So used to I would do a lot of stuff on paper, and then I switched completely just digital. And so I guess technically I still have like the original, but it's on my iPad. So yeah, a lot of those files. It's sort of weird because it's like I definitely don't want them to, you know, disappear or get, you know, you know, corrupted. But so that's, I think, and sometimes I was like, okay, I do enjoy the it's a drawing or something on
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah.
I know it's physical, it's there, but I do enjoy it. I mean, from a design standpoint, like I'm sort of built off of like how efficient and being, production wise, like
Right.
knowing that, hey, it's right there, right on my computer. I can just switch it over if I need to, you know, use this for design. I can move elements around. I'm trained in Photoshop and Illustrator, so it's easy for me to like, okay, I can, if I want to make something, I can make anything I want to. Yeah.
Way, because I mean, I do play around on my iPad and
Yeah.
stuff and digitals, do my own drawings and stuff. And sometimes I'll post things,
Yeah.
but it's not the same to me
Yeah.
because it's just, I haven't really learned it. I guess if I really learned how to use watercolor brushes and all that stuff, I'd
Yeah.
probably be better at it. But I enjoy the texture,
Yep.
the holding, the brushes, I enjoy the physical part of it,
Yeah, it's different.
So,
It's it's a
you know,
different feeling.
it's like, it doesn't, I feel like it's cheating still, which is so silly
Yeah.
because it's not, but it just feels wrong.
It is sort of cheating. I mean, it's like whenever, I know when I mess up on an illustration or something like that, I just like Command Z. I can undo it. It never existed. Yep,
Yeah.
never existed. Just
Never
erase the whole thing.
No, it's true. And yeah, I mean, that's a cool thing,
Yeah.
but at the same time, for me, it's like, I don't get the same, I mean, for me, art is as much about the product as it is about my personal journey with it.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, to be in that zone, that Zen space that you get when you're an artist is like irreplaceable.
Oh yeah.
In fact, one time I read something that said, if your artist is painting or working, it takes 22 minutes. And I don't know if this is correct or not, to get back into that space.
I
So
can believe
you
that.
go completely out, mom, they come up and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, wait, like, and people say like, when they watch me paint or, people in my house that watch me paint, they'll say, you're so serious.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm so serious, it's just I'm in that zone.
Yeah.
And are you mad? I'm like, no, just that's my serious face.
Yep.
So it's funny how, that to me is the prize,
Yeah.
or is the reward.
Yeah.
So it's funny because it's just, for me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, I guess for people outside looking in and, you're not an artist or not a creator and you hadn't been in that space to where like, you're just zoned in and you create something. It's a different feeling.
Do you get that with your digital work? See,
Yeah,
that's where
yes, I do.
I don't feel like I do because I get so technical about like, oh, gotta do this. and
Oh,
gotta do
yeah.
that I have a hard time like connecting in that way.
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't do it enough.
Yeah. Once, because I know it was a little hard for me at first when I went digital, because I had to switch the whole way I was even like holding a pencil because I've got if I'm drawing on paper, I've got a stronger grip. So I had to like switch completely how I was even drawing on a digital tablet. I would have broken the pencil. So yeah, having to do like little adjustments with that, knowing I can do adjustments on the actual iPad.
Right.
With the pressure. Yeah.
Darker pressure.
So it took a good bit for me to actually get all my adjustments and everything down.
Yeah,
And so once I did that, then that was fine. But yeah, once I go from the beginning of a sketch, I'll just start, sketching out just objects and shapes.
Right.
And going to the complete thing. Yeah, usually if I'm just locked in, I'll zone out and just do it. A lot of times, and even from there, I can create like little process videos so I can sort of see the process from like the beginning to the end. See, and all the lines that I did and all the changes and reiterations.
That's the best part of digital because you can see the process, and your own process, which you're not seeing, that's the one thing that I was really into for a while, was trying to record myself, trying to capture those, images. And it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure to capture like the process.
Yeah.
The process is hard. When you're in the process is that.
Yeah.
It's just, you're in the zone. You can't be like, hang on a minute, let me video, let me record, let me, I have a camera, set up and light and all that, but I rarely use it because it's hard for me to like be in the process and then like kind of forget.
Yeah.
either I have to record the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, take a couple clips out of it so that I can kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
Or do, okay, I'm gonna do a minute and just show, you know, what I'm working on, like real tight, you know, right in front of me. And then just move, you know, move through it
Yeah.
and be like, okay, I'm done with that. So it's not the easiest.
Oh,
I
no.
don't think so. I mean, I think there's people who are really good at it, and I just decided I'm not that person,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
unless I'm gonna record, like you said, the whole process.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
beginning to end.
Yeah, so that just allows me to really just keep going. And if I mess up, it's recorded,
Yeah,
and you just keep going. And then when you look at the beginning to the end, then you know you see all the little mistakes, but you see what came of it too. So
Yeah.
that's, and I actually I enjoy the process more than any, you know, design or creation I may make. I like the process of it. I like, hey, figuring out, oh, like, what am I even gonna draw? Like my wife, she was like, I'll be sketching, and my wife was like, well, what are you drawing? I was like, I don't know yet.
yeah.
I was like, we'll see this we'll see where this goes.
Sit down. It's not.
Yeah.
So the majority of my work is not one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really don't ever come into it, you know, unless I'm thinking, okay, I want to do a dream dates,
Yeah.
something where I'm like specific. But even that, I try not to like prepare myself for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just sit down. My desk is always available and I always have supplies on it.
Yeah.
So it's a designated area in my home. So, I mean, a lot of times I'll be watching something on TV where I'm not even really watching it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just listening or it's on in the background. Music is on in the background,
Yeah.
but I'm doing my own thing. So it's it's just kind of like, it's more evolved over the years, you know, before when I had kids home, it was different. It's just over the years, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's more of a designated space.
Yeah.
You know, before it was the kitchen table. So I'd have to clean it off.
Hey,
And,
I understand that.
you know, when I had a studio was the best, honestly,
Yeah.
because I could just go while my kids were at school. I worked the whole time while they were there.
Yeah.
That was probably my most productive years, because to be in a space where, you know, you're surrounded by artists, and also even if it was quiet and there wasn't anybody there, that was great too.
Yeah.
So I kind of made it more scheduled, you know, like a job.
Yeah.
Okay, start at 8:30 and I end at 3:30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And gave me a more structured. So I'm still kind of do that like on my days off on my other job. So it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself, having to really trying to find myself balancing certain things. So I've got the main design business, but then there's a lot of things I mean, as far as like just sitting down to just be able to sketch or create something. I find
You have
myself,
to make the time.
yeah. So that's what I mean, even with the coffee cups that I do, like that's forcing me to sit down and just draw something, you know, go through that process. And it's tactile too. You know, I love like being able to, you know, look around it, see what mistakes I did, and just really just experiment with some things.
Right.
You know, even like paint with coffee and things like that. You know,
Right.
that's been like a 2-year process, but I enjoy it. Like I love like seeing like how it mixes with the color, and knowing that I can get certain you know, I can get certain boldness of the coffees depending, like if it's like a light roast or a dark roast, I get like different tones depending. So like experimenting with all those. So I enjoy that. That's just something I can't do that on the computer.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to still have that tactile
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
You know. When I was doing mixed media, I would tea stain my book pages.
Okay.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
You get like every time, you can never repeat it.
Yeah.
You know, you try to make the exact same mix and it's like, it's a little darker, a little lighter, you know, whatever brand it was. You know, there were so many different things that got factored into that. But still very fun, you know, to try. It's all to me, I mean, and people will say like, I've done murals, I do window painting, I've done that. Like I'm pretty much like, I'll try anything if it's something that I'm, you know, could possibly learn from.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I kind of have learned over the years, like, that's not really my favorite, but I will do it. Or I love it and I'll do that again. You know, I would do that again. So
cool.
Yeah, it's just a process, like you said, just a constant. I think that it's a little different in that my life is kind of built around it versus it like when I was younger in it or earlier in it.
Yeah.
It was kind of an addition to my life. Now it's kind of my life.
Yeah.
Like it's become my creative life, you know. My phone is filled with constant pictures of just stuff, you know. whether it's lettering that I like, or it's a color I like, or color combo I like, or, I'm constantly taking photos.
Yeah.
And I might not use it for 2 years. And I have a little folder. That's one thing I'm super organized with, which
Okay.
I'm proud of myself because it's work. It's like I have my art inspiration folders, and I don't divide them down, but I just know that anything that I've taken a photo of that's for inspiration, I put in there. But in terms of keeping track of all my art, any piece of art that I have in my collections or over the years is in Dropbox, is an image in Dropbox.
Yeah.
So I make sure that even if it's just the raw, with my desk behind it, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like an overall aerial picture that I just snapped.
Yeah.
That's got, it hasn't been cropped or edited. I just put it in there. So try to make a habit of that. But, about sometimes I'll go months where I haven't sorted them, and I have them by year,
Yeah.
which is, I don't have them divided more than that, unless it's an event, like, for instance, like a gallery show, they're all in a folder.
Yeah.
A certain, like I did one year, I did a gallery show with all black and white.
Mhm.
So they're all in their own folder.
Okay.
So I know 2020 or 2019, go to that folder,
Yeah.
and that's black and white, all black and white paintings, or, whatever the theme is.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of work though. It's like a constant,
Oh yeah.
sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'll go months and then I'm like, oh, I gotta sit here and do this. So
I can't even.
try to just chip away at it.
I can't even count the number of folders I have in my Dropbox right now.
Yeah.
It's been 10, like maybe 10 years. Like,
Yeah, you're about
Yeah.
the same as me. Like,
Yeah,
I'm in my 12th year.
yeah. I'm like,
So
wow. I was like, I just got to. I'll go back and like look through some of my photos. I'm like, I'm not even using it for anything. But I was like, wow. I was like, I might, I might have to revisit some of these designs. But,
yeah. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll pull them out
Yeah.
into my iPad so that they're just kind of sitting there, like reminding me that they're there, like, and it might have been from 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe it was a color combo that I liked.
Mhm.
That I'm like, oh, I gotta still try that. I've constantly got things like that that are just kind of there, but
Yeah.
not, not yet.
Yeah.
Incubation. And it might be something that I'm just using like the smallest piece of that, or not even piece. It's just, something in my head. It kind of, the photo kind of reminds me, oh yeah, I wanted to try that. Might not even be like something that you would look at and go, that's not inspirational to anyone else.
Yeah.
But it's something that I saw that reminded me of something I want to do.
That's true.
So
That's
like
true.
when I did the black and white, like, a lot of the things I had photographed or had looked at or had seen or inspired by were color,
Yeah.
but I made everything black and white. And I painted with ink, which was really fun. Instead of, because it's such a deep, color, and it's it moves differently, and so just trying things like that.
Good deal. So right now, I mean, creative tips. What's a creative tip or tips for our audience?
I would say consistency, like what we were
Mm.
talking about with drawing, staying, making it a priority. Like maybe if you really want to make this a career, or even a side job or whatever, making it a priority in your life. Getting the people in your life to understand that that is the tough one.
Yeah.
You're not playing. It's not funny. It's not, you're not scribbling, like you got to kind of I think when you're serious about it, then they get serious about it. But, it's definitely a process for my family. They had to really understand, like, oh, and for me, it was almost like until other people started noticing.
Yeah.
Then they were like, oh, moms, and they're real artists, what? For 10 years. So it's funny, like you've got to get the outside influence from, and then they're like, oh yeah, now it's different, but like, early on, it was really a struggle.
Yeah.
At times, if I had a deadline or something, I mean, it would be like, you're eating over here, kids, because the table's covered in Arbor, waiting for my next contract, or, when I was
Yeah.
on that kind of a schedule, it was different
Yeah.
because they want it now.
Yeah.
Or they want it yesterday,
Yeah.
So you're working a little bit on a time crunch more. But as far as creative tips, I would say the biggest thing would be just to really make, if you want it to be a priority in your life, and not whether that's an hour a week or an hour a day or whatever you can, bring a sketchbook with you. I almost always have a sketchbook with me.
Yeah.
a pencil. Sometimes I'll see something and just come home and go, okay, I'm gonna just jot it down really fast and just do like an outline of it. I do a lot of drawing, a lot of just pencil drawing, just basic, basic pencil drawings, which is just old school.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if I had an iPad, I could carry that around too. I do have one, but in terms of like, to me, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
things like that, like watercolors, watercolor pencils or something that are really easy to keep around,
Mhm.
for creative. I showed those to my class recently, that we do watercolors, and I showed them using the pencils, which is very different, but it looks, very similar process.
Yeah.
But they were like, well, these existed. And it's like, you can color them in little spaces and then add water.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little more control too,
Yeah.
because you're not using, liquid. You're kind of just using the liquid after.
Yeah.
So, but creative tip wise, yeah, I would say just trying to make it a priority,
Okay.
make it setting aside time for things like that, kind of just making time for it.
Okay.
Because time will go by regardless.
Yes, that's true. That's
So
true.
yeah, I paint a lot less than I used to because I also have another job.
Yeah.
But when I'm home, I make it a point, like I do social media on a certain day, and I do, I'm very scheduled kind of,
Yeah.
which that became from the art licensing process.
Yeah.
Kind of got me in that mode, of this is when you do this, so that I could keep up with it all.
Yeah.
And still be a mom.
Yeah.
And still,
That could
still
be
do
hectic.
all that. Yeah, lots of juggling. So
So before we sign off, words of wisdom. So
Oh, wow.
just some ending words of wisdom for people that may listen to this episode now, or perhaps in the future, and they maybe they get a card and they're like, oh, who's Monica Martin, and they find this episode.
yes,
Words of wisdom.
I would say everybody has an artistic talent if it's practiced. So for me, art is a practice. It's a constant practice. And what I mean by that is it's never ending. Like I don't see myself getting to this one spot where I'm like, yes, I've made it. It's a constant part of my life.
Yeah.
It's a constant, effort. But also I think that there's so many different styles of art now and so many different genres. And I mean, that your art will fit with it will resonate with someone, and you don't know who that's going to be. You may think, oh, no one's going to like this, or this isn't that particular style. Like mine's very mainstream, so it's easy, in that way, but I also have a niche, my cards maybe wouldn't be for a 20-something, or, it's like you find your niche, you just kind of go with that. You will find people who will love anything you create, I'm trying to tell like the younger generation that when I have kids in my classes, or teenagers or high schoolers, that, what I paint is not what you need to paint.
Yeah.
You need to do your own version of that flower, or your own version of that landscape, or your own version completely. Like you do something completely different from me. I don't do portraits, and that's only because I've never done them and I've never really learned how to.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean I can't learn. It's just not like something that interests me at this moment.
Yeah.
So I think that for anybody, words of wisdom wise, it's just find your spot, find your little space. It might be, people do lettering, people do, there's like space for everybody. I think in art, whether it's abstract or like recently, like yesterday, I think I got a call for artists for sci-fi. Like that's not me at all, but it could be.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what would I do?
Yeah.
Pushing myself outside of the box.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good to just be open to any style.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good. Really good words of wisdom. So right now, how can people get in touch with you? Purchase any of your designs, maybe get into your art classes. What's the best way of reaching out to you?
Right now, I have my website.
Yes.
Which is monicamartinfineart.com. I am also on Instagram, Monica Martin Fine Art. My cards are here at Boba Coffee, and they've been here since the beginning, so it's exciting. that they still, sell, and that I have people that a lot of people know me from these cards here.
Yeah.
So that's a great plus. I shout out to Baba for that. And I have a Fine Art America account, which is where all of my art can be reproduced in different styles, whether that's art prints, it could be a tote bag, it could be a frame, like a frame piece of art, it could be canvas, like, so that's like I could put a piece in and you can get like 18 different ways.
Yeah.
So that's a cool option. So that's up through my website. As far as locally, I teach paint and sip, which is super fun and super casual, and anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I like those groups because it's it's just a fun night out.
Yeah.
It's not like a serious art class. And I get a lot of repeats on that. And that's at New Village Arts.
Okay.
Deerhurst New Village Arts, right down the street.
Yeah.
On State Street. And that's twice a month. And then just gallery. I usually, anything I'm in or doing is on my Instagram. So, it's like teaching some classes fall October, November, December. Those will all be on. So I pretty much list them as I'm doing it, letting people know this is where you can find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then just, that's it.
Well, this has been a very enlightening episode. So for any artists, creators that might be thinking about dabbling into the licensing industry, this might be a really good episode for you. Once again, thank you for Baba Coffee for hosting this. Smuggling good vibes, good coffee, and they're a great supporter. They support the podcast.
Support me.
Yep, they support Monica. She's got her cards here, so if you're around,
Love this place.
purchase a card. She's got all kinds of different ones. I've gotten a few of them before, so really cool designs. And like I said, I'm really big about supporting your creative local economy. There's a wide range of different creators that's here. Support them in some form or fashion. It could be purchasing something or giving them shout outs, sharing what they're doing. She's got art classes and cards. You can purchase things from our website. So please find ways of supporting your artists. So other than that, hey, this is another great episode with me, with Monica.
Thank you.
And it's the Creative Brew. Be creative, stay inspired. Call the homie up, told them loot to sample up. We gotta come together now, cause I had enough. The time is now, there'll never be another one. It's a sack of laps.